Alrighty, it is G. What is up, everybody? We are in the month of December. This is the week of December 18th, 2023. We are winding down to the year. The last week, last 2 weeks of 2023. 7 days out is how I run the charts from Monday to Monday. So that means December 18th, the following Monday would be December 26th, Christmas Monday, for those of you who celebrate. So let's take a look at the chart. Let's get it up here. And let me see if I can get it on here. I know we got it ready to go. I've been marking it up for you and everything. Okay. Don't be discouraged by some of the markings. I'm going to explain everything I have written here. To start off, December 18th, we'll go black really quick right there. December 18th. So this video is going to track the next 7 days. All right. So here we are on the 18th. And what are we starting off with? Well, on the 18th, we see that this chart itself has Venus at 17 in Scorpio, shared values, money, right? Scorpio. So there can be tragic energy, can be shit we've been through, like our pain and our just, when you think of the past and we think of intense, deep emotions, that's Scorpio energy. Now, if Venus is there, which she is at 17, this kind of puts a spotlight on feminine energy. Okay, so wounds that feminine energy females have been through, right? You have Venus and Mars together here. So for a lot of folks, there could be thoughts and emotions and feelings surrounded by maybe people that we were physically intimate with at one time, or people that we were just intimate with. It doesn't have to be physically, like you've been through something together, something deep and intense, something very powerful. That Scorpio energy kind of holds on to the soul stories. Pluto is the ruler, right? Yeah. And so we think of Scorpio and we remember Mars and Pluto rule it. So with those two rulers, Mars is very physical, right? It's the soldier. It's somebody who can carry a weapon even. So it could be those sort of wounds, like military, or I don't know, people who unfortunately are victims of those who carry weapons, even though they're not in the military and illegally could be carrying weapons, right? Or those who maybe have nothing to do with the military. I think I said that part. Mercury's really messing with me. But just somebody who carries a weapon. So knives and guns typically is like Mars energy. But the past is a big deal. The past, and it goes beyond your recall. There's a recall that your soul has. I call it the soul memory, soul's history. And so sometimes we can rehash certain things. We experience it by the present day stuff, like whatever is going on. It somehow, our emotions really, like those waters start to bubble, right? And they start to be they could be unbelievably intense, because Scorpio energy represents the vulnerabilities, and it has that hard time. Typically that sort of energy normally has a hard time trusting, because it's like, I don't know, I've been there, I understand how this goes. I see where it's going, and it might not even verbalize that, but inside it's like, oh, hell no, I ain't going down that path, And so it's kind of the soldier who sleeps with the one eye open, right? So Venus being there wounds possibly feminine energy, whether it's to the females themselves, or possibly a wound inflicted from a female. Like if you're somebody who was in a relationship with a female, feminine energy, I'll say, there might be like some stirrings, some recall of that. Okay, there might be even conversations, or just the emotion alone, where you're like, why am I feeling this way? Sometimes that happens, especially if it's deep. When stuff is deep, like the Scorpio stuff is, it's hard to understand what it's connected to, because Pluto, the soul, Pluto It's not about what you went through in this lifetime. So, however you understand your life and its meaning, it's not about your personality. It's about there's something there, the carryover of the soul's experiences that is somehow you have access to that. So, however that works for you in your mind, however you can be comfortable with me having this discussion, talking about soul history, soul memory, and saying, what are you talking about other lifetimes? You don't even have to honor that. Just say, is there such a thing that your soul lives on, that your spirit lives on, right? Absolutely. The body dies, the spirit doesn't, right? The soul does not. So we have that going on. Now the good news is that Venus, even though she's definitely in her detriment because she's in Scorpio, but we all know Venus and Mars, what happens when Venus and Mars get together? Right, everybody knows. Like Venus and Mars, they they get along. Even though it might seem like they don't get along, somehow they make it work. Somehow they're like, oh, that whole like I can't live without them and can't live with them thing. They somehow make it work. So a detrimental Venus, which is what she is because she rules Taurus, right? So the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. And that's how you know the detriments in signs. You know the sign that it rules. So if you know the sign that a planet rules, you automatically know the detriment because Venus ruling Taurus is in a detriment when it's in Scorpio because Scorpio is at the opposite end, right? It's at the very opposite end of Taurus energy. They run along that same line of energy, that fixed energy. Venus is love and desires. Okay. It's also how I receive in your money in the bank. And so Scorpio is our shared values. We both share this together. Together. We hold the value on this, right? So some say it's inheritances, because it's old values, old shared values. So those blood bonds are a real thing here. Now, this Venus, this Venus is going to move. She's not going to move real far, but I think she gets to like, as the week goes on, she ends up being, I think, like at 23, right? 23, 24, 25 degrees. So, like on Christmas Day, literally, I should say Christmas Eve. Let's check it out over here. All right. So, by the 23rd, here it is. By the 23rd, Venus starts to talk to Neptune. And Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And so when Venus is in a water sign, this means that her and Neptune are getting along really well and they understand each other. Neptune is prayer. Neptune is faith. Neptune is understanding. It's the big picture. It's theater, it's kumbaya. Well, Venus and the values, right? There could be a beautiful benefit for some folks. And that setup, that conversation, like they're both at the table with a cup of coffee, they're just chilling, they're relaxed. Neptune is going to be very chill. Venus is harmony. Venus is harmony. So Venus will be talking to Neptune, having harmonious conversations, peaceful, even dreamy, right? Maybe even a little fantastical, like, oh my God, it's a dream. Can that be possible? That will start aspecting in a strong way by the 23rd. By the 23rd. So 23rd, 24th, and till Christmas morning. Till Christmas morning, right? Like Christmas Day, Venus starts to pass. She gets to 25. Once we're talking like afternoon, Venus is already by like 25. And that's in the time zone I'm in, Central Daylight Time Zone. Okay. So that can be a beautiful time, those few days that we have in there. All right. Now, let's go and check out the next thing on the schedule. We'll go to Mercury since I have it all up there, and let's just clear it up. I have the date, the 17th, so I don't mean to go backwards a little bit, but again, there's already a side video on this. There's this whole combust thing that Mercury does. And so when Mercury is combust, it means that it matches up close enough to the sun. And when it matches up close with the sun, we lose its power. We lose its power. And Mercury's talking and thinking and communications, travel, right? So something might occur, like your travel plans fall through, or all of a sudden, like your thinking is a little not so great, right? Brain fog, whatever. We all of a sudden, just like our travel plans, right? It could even be, some people, it might even be literally car issues. Mercury isn't just the car and the travel, but it's also the devices and talking and texting, social sites, social media, snail mail, regular mail. Even if I'm just sitting here and talking to you, think of digital neighbors, think of peers, think of friends, think of coworkers, think of next door neighbors, even physical next door neighbors. Think of teachers and schools, right? Like that's that kind of energy. So when Mercury goes combust, Mercury is, I would say it's debilitated. It's weakened. It's weakened is what that means. It doesn't operate really strongly. And so you see that right here, because Mercury in this chart, Mercury is at 5 degrees, and you see the sun is at 26. So honestly, it started the day before, even you could say that you would have noticed it. And so what that means is we normally can kind of feel like the brain isn't functioning as well. It doesn't mean you can't function. It just means like you're like, okay, why does this feel like a Mercury retrograde? Or why is my brain and my thoughts just not functioning as clearly? But it's interesting because Mercury is retrograding. You see how those numbers are in red. So I wasn't going to even do a video. I mentioned this in the other video. I wasn't going to do a video about this because the combust happens, of course, while Mercury is retrograding, which is normal because that's when the sun and Mercury get close to each other. They're headed towards each other. Mercury's going backwards and the sun is moving forward. So that combust thing always happens, right? And Mercury's in Cappy here, right? It's in Cappy. And so there's a time where it's just feeling as though there could even be like, because Capricorn is very restrictive and it's heavy, it's duties, it's burdens, it's responsibilities. So sometimes we kind of feel like the weight of the world is on us, like Atlas, right? We kind of feel that way. Some say even they might feel a little bit of a depressed sense about them. So you got to take care and think of all the things you'll need ahead of time for your mind so that you can, just take care of you, do what makes you feel a little bit better, whatever those, best practices are for you. And so that begins December 16th, December 17th. Now, that lasts, it's a window. It's not just that one day. It's a full on window. And the details, I'm not going to go here through it, but it's for the rest of this week. How about that? All the way until Christmas. But on the next day, like the 26th, 27th, the combust ends. But again, go watch that other video because I go deep dive for you to understand it better. There is something that happens in the middle of the combustion thing. All right. And it doesn't get talked about enough, I know, because it's like a one-day event. It's quick, it's small. But what I would suggest is to look in your chart and see if you have something at these degrees. You'll see the date that I have written here. There's a star next to it. You see 12:22. I even have the time, 12:47 p.m. Dun, 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 dun. What the hell happens then? Well, what happens then is Mercury and the sun are at critical degrees in the same sign. Yes. So this is a big deal. It's worth talking about. You see how the sun's going up in numbers here? Well, it's going to reach 0 degrees of Capricorn, right? It's going to reach 0 degrees in Cappy. And Mercury is going to reach 0 degrees in Cappy because it's going backwards. So the sun and Mercury are going to match right there at 0. Right. Business, government. When you hear me say Capricorn, like this is boss energy, authority figures. For some of you, it can be your parents, a father figure, somebody that you look up to. So news, information, conversations with those individuals, right? Now, that star and that conjunction is what it is. It's Mercury will be conjunct with the sun exactly. The combust energy kind of goes away. It's just for that day. Right. So that's why I have the time written down because they're at 0 degrees in 0 minutes for a short amount of time. And it is quick. But because it's at 0, I'm talking about it. Because 0 degrees means extreme. It's kind of like experiencing out of bounds energy. Right? It kind of is. It's kind of is. And so, again, there's a interesting time that we have going on. So that's the date on the 22nd. And I will add that at 0 degrees in Capricorn, if you have anything in your chart at 0, 1, or even 2 degrees in the other earth signs, this can be beneficial. So that means Taurus, 0, 1, 2 degrees. That also means Virgo, 0, 1, 2 degrees, especially Virgo, because we have something there. Regulus is at 0 degrees of Virgo. And Virgo is your day-to-day routines. You know, it kind of has a strong domestic vibration to it. So in the house, but it doesn't have to literally be at home, but you might have, you know, like it's your tasks, the to-do list. So if you're at a job and you're given lists to do, you know, you do like a kind of like a, you know, I was at a job once where it was like I had the same damn thing. I never changed the station. I worked at the same station all the time. And oh my God, that was a Virgo thing. It was like, just do this. Bam, bam, bam. And now go on a break, come back, bam, bam, bam. And every once in a while, they would kind of switch you up. They needed something special done. And oh my God, it was something out of the ordinary. And I was so ready for it. And that's Virgo. It is very flexible. So it has that domestic vibration to it. So we think of like gardening and cleaning and cleanliness, but tasks and projects. It's not real flashy or real interesting typically, but it's stuff that it's very important stuff that needs to get done, because that's how the rest of the world functions and operates. You know, we think of people who do the gardening, we think of our farmers, but we think of the people who are harvesting Virgo energy, right? The people who go out and who pick the fruit or who pick, you know, whatever, right? And so without them, we wouldn't get our food, because the next step in earth is Cappy, where it's being sold, right? Material, tangible, and we're making money off it in the big businesses and corporations. So Virgo energy is also domestic pets, but it's health. Think of alternative health, whatever that is for you. Everyone always screams Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I do this and that. Like there's a whole slew of other avenues as well. So put some comments in down below. Let me know what sort of alternative forms, what other alternative healing modalities, because Virgo is very holistic. It wants to do things that are earthy. And Regulus being here is kind of like, yes, we're doing this. And you see it's at 0. So this puts a beautiful grand earth trine. Well, I say grand. Only if you have something in Taurus at 0, 1, or 2 degrees. We're doing a 2-degree orb. So I'll just draw a line from Regulus to where the Mercury and the Sun are going to be. Not to confuse anybody, but I'll just draw it like right there. Okay. Yeah, I got to straighten my line out because I'm OCD with my art, or when I'm drawing. I have Uranus and I have Pluto and Virgo, and yeah, and it's all in my 5th house, and it's all about, oh my God, that you can do better. Perfection, Virgo, in case I forgot to mention that. Virgo, critical thinker, very analytical. Perfection, that is Virgo. Absolutely. That's why it's so good with the cleaning and stuff, right? It can see the details, the minutia. That's Virgo. That is Virgo. So there might be some information and some news, something coming down from the boss. Could be really beneficial for some folks. If you've got anything in some other signs like the cardinal energy, like 0 degrees of Libra, 0 degrees of Aries, that might be difficult because a 0 degrees brings up a square. All right. And so it can be stress and tension with that square. Now, the combust energy, or I'm sorry, the star energy, that is on the 22nd. And so again, that was just for that one day because Mercury and the Sun both move quite fast. But I would think somebody in charge, somebody of authority for sure, okay? Because it's the Sun and Mercury together, and us hearing about it, sharing information, social media. Remember Mercury, the news, social media, that's Mercury. Yeah. Coworkers, that's Mercury. Okay. Now we move along, and even though I'm kind of bebopping around out of line as far as the dates because I'm doing the planets, I want to just quickly make a reference to Pluto. It's not a huge deal. That's why I didn't talk about it yet, but I have it drawn in, and I just want to point it out so it doesn't look like I forgot about it. Pluto is sitting here at 2858, and the only reason this line is drawn, it's at 2858, is the next day or 2 days from now, Pluto hits 29 degrees. And so we're just paying attention to Pluto because of the trine that Pluto is going to set up with Sedna over here, We did a video on Sedna. Go watch the video. It's Pluto and Sedna together. They're going to be connecting, they're going to be like locking horns, right? It's Taurus and it's Cappy, right? So it's the money, it's the income, it's how I receive, it's banking, right? It's the earth, and it's locking horns with Capricorn energy, Pluto in Capricorn. This is like big boss energy. This is power, this is money, big power, big money. All right, they're locking horns here. And it's a trine energy. So typically something could occur. Maybe it just has to do with interest rates and the Fed. It possibly could, but it can be sweet and very beneficial for many folks because it's very stabilizing energy. It's grounded and it's very stabilizing. As we move on, we get to the next date that I have on here. And wait a minute, I have the full moon on the 26th. Well, that's the day after Christmas. So you already see that. The FM, that's because there's a full moon the day after Christmas. But before we, there's a separate video for that. So it's a full moon, it's a release. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But before I even go there, I want to mention Mars real quick. We got Mars sitting right here. Yeah, you see Mars right here? Yeah. So Mars at the beginning of the week, you see 17, right? 1750, so 18 degrees. Now Mars is in Saggy, which means Mars is going to move along. All right, Mars is going to truck along here. Now the thing is, we have to pay attention to Saggy and Mars because everything in Sagittarius, angles and squares, Virgo and Pisces. Okay, so I talked a little bit earlier about that Venus thing, how Venus was going to be sending this sweet trine, right? Venus is going to be trining and talking to Neptune here. Remember when I mentioned that? I said, oh, yeah, there's going to be this sweet conversation with Venus. Well, I have to add that Mars, around the same time, Mars is going to be getting close enough. Mars will be getting close enough where it will set up a square. It will set up an angle and create a square energy with Neptune. And so this is around the same time that Venus is trining Neptune. You see the difference? Venus in Scorpio is water. You see? So water trines water, right? But you see over here, this Mars is in fire. It's in Saggy, right? Saggy is a mutable sign. Pisces is mutable. Fire squares the water here. It's mutable, squaring mutable. Okay. Mutable, squaring mutable. Mutable Sagittarius, squaring mutable Pisces. Mutable means they're flexible. They're kind of like wishy-washy, right? So Mars in Saggy, angling up and squaring. Yeah. And unfortunately, being around the same time that Venus is going to trine it, I just want to say something to add to this is that Neptune has more power than Mars. Like there's a thing with the astrology, the planets themselves. Like imagine them, everybody's sitting at a table and talking. So if Mars is sitting at the table, Mars is the soldier, right? He takes orders. He takes orders, and I don't mean he's walking around, with a pad saying, "Can I, do you want a coffee with cream?" No, I'm saying he's sitting at the table with his own notebook, waiting to hear what he is being commanded to do, and his job is to then leave the room and to go out and take action. Right? He just got his orders. He's a soldier. That's what I'm talking about. He's waiting for his orders, and that's what Mars energy usually works best at, even though it kind of can be a little on the rebellious side in terms of, but it wants to work alone and it wants to be the first one, right? So the Marines, really good, right? Really good for a Marine. What does this have to do with Neptune? Mars is your physical body and your energy. When Neptune and Mars angle up, Neptune will have the ability to dwindle Mars's energy, to kind of say, you need more sleep. And that's exactly what it is. And that's all it is usually. All right. So when this happens, just let Venus's ability when she's angling that way to just be a little bit dreamy, to stay in bed an extra hour, to make sure you're like leaving enough time for yourself to know, especially because it's, well, December 23rd, December 24th, December 25th, like the three most stressful days out of some people's lives ever for some folks, right? So things get really crazy and hectic and busy usually. Okay. And usually it's like, oh my God. So it might be a really good time to be like, we're just going to kind of chill and stay home this year. We're watching movies. Like we're not going all out. We're not doing a whole lot because Mars will be angled and Venus will want to be all kind of like dreamy and movies anyway, because she'll be doing that thing with Neptune. Right. But it'll be pleasant and harmonious. And then even Mars will be like, chill. I'm commanding you, chill. Like that will be the thing. Okay. So that means to plan ahead, especially if you were thinking of, if you are hosting, right? If you're hosting, I mean, here's the thing. Depending upon your chart, the things that I'm saying, some folks, if they have a very strong Mars and some other really strong things in their chart, you know how some people are? It's like they can go on and on and on and they're not affected. But if you're someone, right, where the holidays and all the hustle and bustle stresses you out, just hear it now from this video. Plan, ask for help, plan accordingly, like distribute the workload. You follow? Because you might absolutely need it. You might want to order out or cater or whatever, or decide, hey, we're doing Chinese this year. Like that's what we're doing. You see, like it just might be a good idea because I mean, it's not a long thing, but gosh, just chill, like think of you having your own harmony and your own peace. Okay. Now, I think I hit everything other than the nodes. The nodes are now at 2236. This is the south node, which is a release and a let go. And the north node is also at the same. And that's how they work. The north node is the future. This is where we're headed. I'm starting something. That's the north node. It's at 2236. And so when we're starting something, it's about the freedoms of my body. It's about my body itself. Maybe I need to lose weight. Maybe I'm really concerned about my appearance. I'm thinking about, what am I going to do with my body? Like, can I still work this job? Like, have I been using my body? Did I overwork my body? Like, it's just all about the physical body, the appearance, and the head. We don't really ever talk about that enough. The head, specifically the head. Always remember that. So it could be your hair, the makeup, even if you're thinking about your appearance and your body, but it could be the color of my skin. There's a lot of wounds and a lot of hurts. There's a lot of imbalanced energy, extreme imbalanced energy. I'll put it like that, where people are viewed a certain way based on the color of their skin. So somehow, this north node has all that packed into it. All of that is packed into it. So there's a lot of history involved in like everything that we're living through. The other thing, I know I don't want to add it to it, but here we go. I have it marked. I just realized I didn't talk about it. Is that right at the beginning of this week, the 18th, we got Mercury and Jupiter. They're trining each other. I have it in purple. Can you see that? That purple line? I'm going to go ahead and go over it in blue. How about this? I'll go wacky green. This is Mercury and this is Jupiter. This trine literally began the day before. Mercury moves pretty fast. So it's December 17th. Mercury and Jupiter trining. Remember, Mercury's the news. It's my talking and my communications. It's traveling, but it's like, I'm really busy. I got a lot of errands to run. And it's trining Jupiter, which is like really big on learning, because Jupiter is about learning, but extended learning, and Mercury is about learning. But Jupiter can also be the judicial system and the judges. So we think of the news. And we think of, there's a lot of court cases in the US that y'all might be paying attention to. And so those things and the rulings of those things, because it's Jupiter and Mercury and Taurus. Jupiter and Taurus, the money, the moolah. How much are you going to pay? That whole thing. All right. So I know I covered a lot. And I, pray to God I didn't make it too confusing for you. Basically, none of the planets have changed signs. So this is why we got like this deep dive into the details, right? About one planet being more powerful than another planet taking the back seat, combust, and like all these other detailed things. So yeah, don't forget the full moon before I sign off here. The full moon on the 26th, so the day after Christmas, there is a full moon, and go watch the video. It is a full moon in the sign of Cancer at 5 degrees. All right, full moon sign of Cancer at 5 degrees. Hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for all of you who watch the channel. And just remember, like, don't get too caught up in the hustle and the bustle. Thankfully, the Mars and the Neptune thing is kind of like a divine sign where it says, chill out, take it easy. And when that happens, that's just, it's like you're given permission to work not as hard, to slow down and smell the roses. So when the universe says that and lines you up for it, take it, enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.